The ham was still steaming in the center of the table when my mother lifted her glass and smiled at everyone like she was about to announce an engagement. "Before we eat," she said, voice bright and ceremonial, "your father and I have something wonderful to share." My stomach tightened instantly. That tone, that performance tone, the one she used at church luncheons and charity galas when she wanted the room to adore her. Across from me, my sister Claire straightened in her chair, already glowing with anticipation. Her hand slipped over Mom's wrist, squeezing. They shared that look, the one that always made me feel like an extra at my own family table. Dad cleared his throat. "It's about the trust." The word landed like ice water down my spine. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "What about it?" Mom beamed. "We've decided to accelerate its purpose." Accelerate? I blinked. "I don't understand." Claire laughed lightly. "Oh my God, you're going to love this." My chest constricted. I already didn't. Dad folded his hands. "You know the trust was always meant to support stability and family continuity." I stared at him. "It was meant for my future." Mom's smile never flickered. "And your future is unconventional, sweetheart." There it was, the soft-worded verdict she'd been delivering about my life since I was 16. Unmarried, freelance, renting, no children, no predictable trajectory she could present to her friends like a polished resume. Claire, meanwhile, married, suburban, pregnant, homeowner, embodied everything Mom called secure. "So," Mom continued gently, "we've arranged for the trust to be transferred to Claire." The room went silent. My pulse roared in my ears. "You what?" I whispered. Claire reached across the table and squeezed my hand like I was a child about to be comforted. "It's still family money," she said softly. "It stays with us." Us, not me. I pulled my hand back slowly. "That trust was created in my name," I said. My voice sounded far away. "Grandpa specified—" Dad cut in. "Circumstances change." My throat burned. "You can't just give it away." Mom's expression shifted, pitying now. "Honey, you've never even used it. You don't have a home, or children, or plans. Claire does. This helps stabilize the next generation." I stared at her. Years of quiet favoritism condensed into a single irreversible moment. "So, you're taking my inheritance and handing it to her." Claire flinched. "It's not like that." "It is exactly like that," I said. Mom sighed. "Why are you making this ugly? We're keeping it in the family." "I am family," I said. The words came out raw. No one spoke. Claire's husband shifted uncomfortably. My aunt looked down at her plate. The clink of silverware from the kitchen sounded suddenly enormous. Dad reached into his jacket and slid an envelope across the table toward Claire. "There's preliminary documents," he said. "The trustee has been notified." My heart stopped. "You already did it?" I asked. Mom's voice softened again. "We wanted to tell you tonight so it wouldn't feel secretive." Not secretive, just done. I pushed my chair back slowly. The legs scraped across tile like a scream. "I need air," I said. No one stopped me. Outside, the evening was cold and damp. Easter lights still glowed along the porch railing. Pastel bulbs, cheerful, obscene. I stood there shaking. My trust fund. The one Grandpa created the year I was born, the one he told me about at 17 when he handed me the letter explaining it was so you'd always have a foundation no one could take from you. Except, they just had. Behind me, the door opened. Claire stepped out, wrapping her cardigan tighter. "Hey," she said softly. I didn't turn. "Congratulations." "Don't do that." "Do what? Acknowledge reality?" She exhaled. "It's not about taking from you. It literally is." She hesitated. "You know Mom worries about you." I laughed, sharp, hollow. "Because I'm not you. That's not fair." "No, fair would have been leaving my inheritance alone." She moved closer. You weren't going to use it. I don't know that. You've never even looked at houses. Because I thought I had time. Because it was mine." The word cracked. She went quiet. Then, "It still helps you. If anything ever happened, I'd—" "Stop," I said. I turned then, meeting her eyes. "Do you hear yourself? You're offering me access to my own money through you." Color rose in her cheeks. "That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant." We stood there in the damp glow of Easter lights, the distance between us finally visible instead of implied. "I didn't ask for this," she said quietly, "but you accepted it." She didn't answer. Inside, I could hear laughter starting again, Mom's voice bright, relieved, already moving the evening forward now that the announcement was done. Like nothing had happened. Claire swallowed. "Look, the trustees still has to finalize everything." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "The legal transfer," she said. "Dad said paperwork takes time." A flicker of something, small, fragile, moved in my chest. "Who's the trustee?" I asked. She blinked. "You know, Mr. Halpern." My breath caught. Mr. Halpern. My grandfather's attorney. The man who drafted the trust. The man who'd once told me, "This is yours in ways deeper than numbers." "Has he signed anything?" I asked. She hesitated. I don't know." Hope and dread twisted together. Because if the trustee hadn't approved, then maybe— The porch light snapped on brighter behind us. Mom's voice floated out. "Girls, dinner's getting cold." Claire glanced back, then at me. "Please don't make this a war," she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I said the only thing that mattered. "It already is." Inside, chairs scraped again. Dad's voice, glasses clinking. And somewhere in the back of my mind, one thought pulsed louder than all the rest. The trustee had other plans. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Unknown number. I stared at it and answered. A calm, familiar voice came through the line. "Hello, I believe your parents informed you of their request." My heart began to pound. "Yes," I said quietly. "They said the trust is being transferred to my sister." A pause. Then he said very carefully, "That is not what I authorized." My fingers tightened around the phone so hard the plastic creaked. "What do you mean?" I whispered. Across the porch, Claire watched my face change. I saw confusion flicker in her eyes, then unease. On the line, Mr. Halpern's voice remained calm, deliberate. "Your parents contacted me 3 weeks ago," he said. "They requested an amendment to the trust structure." Amendment. The word tasted legal, cold, dangerous. "And," I asked, "and I informed them," he continued, "that the trust is irrevocable in its beneficiary designation." My pulse slammed. Irrevocable. "So they can't give it to her?" I said. Behind me, the screen door creaked open again. Mom stepped out this time, her smile already prepared, until she saw my expression. "What is it?" she asked. I didn't answer her. "They said it was being transferred," I told Mr. Halpern. Another pause. "Yes," he said slowly, "they requested it." Requested, not done. Hope flared, sharp and terrifying. "And you refused?" I asked. Claire's posture stiffened. Mom moved closer. "Who are you talking to?" I raised a hand without looking at her. On the phone, Mr. Halpern exhaled quietly. "I informed them that under the trust's governing instrument, the principal cannot be reassigned to another beneficiary without your consent." My consent. The air left my lungs. Mom stopped moving. Claire's face went pale. "So nothing changed?" I said. "Legally," he replied, "no." A wave of dizziness washed through me, relief colliding with something darker. Because if nothing changed, then why did they announce it like it was done? Inside, Dad's voice called, "Everything okay out there?" No one answered. I swallowed. They said paperwork was already happening. "They cannot initiate transfer paperwork," Mr. Halpern said, "because they do not control the trust." My heartbeat thundered in my ears.
Then why would they say that? I asked. Silence stretched on the line for a moment. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted, more cautious now. They did ask, he said, whether there were circumstances under which you might be deemed unfit to manage or benefit from the trust. The world tilted. What? I breathed. Claire's eyes widened. What? Mom went very still. What circumstances? I asked. Mr. Halpern's voice lowered. They inquired about clauses related to financial irresponsibility, incapacity, or destabilizing personal conditions. My skin went cold. They tried to declare me incapable, I said. I would not characterize it that way, he replied carefully, but they did explore whether discretionary control could shift to another family member. Another family member. Claire made a small, strangled sound. Mom's composure cracked for the first time. "Give me that phone," she snapped. I turned away from her. "Did you tell them anything about me?" I asked. "No," he said immediately. "I reminded them that you are the sole beneficiary and fully competent unless a court determines otherwise." Court. The word dropped like a stone. My stomach twisted. "Did they mention court?" I asked. He hesitated, and that hesitation said everything. "Mr. Halpern," I whispered, "did they talk about taking this to court?" Behind me, Mom's voice sharpened. "Enough! Hang up!" I stepped off the porch into the dark yard, putting distance between us. "Yes," he said quietly, "they asked what evidence might be required." The night seemed to collapse inward. "Evidence? Of what?" I asked. "That I'm unstable? That you are incapable of responsibly managing substantial assets?" My breath shook. "They told me that?" I said. "They implied concern," he answered. "They referenced your employment variability, housing status, and lack of dependence. Every old criticism, every whispered judgment, formalized, weaponized." Behind me, the porch door slammed. Footsteps approached across gravel. "Give me the phone," Mom said again, closer now, voice tight. I turned away from her, heart racing. "Are they allowed to do that?" I asked. "They may petition," he said. "Anyone may petition, but the burden of proof would be significant." Petition. My parents were preparing to argue in court that I was unfit to receive my own inheritance. Claire's voice cracked behind me. "Mom, you didn't—" Mom didn't answer. "Mr. Halpern," I said, my voice barely steady, "has anything been filed?" "No," he said, "not to my knowledge. Not yet." Relief tried to surface, but it couldn't breathe under the weight of what I'd just learned. "I said they just announced it tonight." "That concerns me," he replied. "Me too, because this wasn't confusion. It wasn't misunderstanding. It was strategy." Mom stepped directly in front of me now, hand outstretched. "This conversation is inappropriate," she said coldly. "You're upsetting yourself over nothing." "Nothing." I stared at her. "You told everyone the trust is Claire's," I said. Her jaw tightened. "Because that is the practical outcome. It's not legal," I said. "It will be," she snapped. The words hung in the air. Claire gasped softly. My pulse roared. On the phone, Mr. Halpern said quietly, "I think I should speak with you privately." Mom lunged for the phone. I stepped back. Gravel slid under my heel. "Tomorrow," he said, "my office. There are matters you need to understand before any action is taken." Action? What matters? I asked. He paused. "Then, your grandfather anticipated conflict." The night went silent. "Anticipated? Conflict about the trust?" I whispered. "Yes," he said. Mom's face drained of color. Claire looked between us, terrified. "What did he do?" I asked. Mr. Halpern exhaled slowly. "He placed provisions," he said, "that activate if an attempt is made to remove you as beneficiary." My heart slammed. "What provisions?" I asked. Mom stepped forward sharply. "End this call." I didn't move. On the line, Mr. Halpern said only this: "If your parents proceed, the trust does not transfer." I stopped breathing. "Then what happens?" I asked. A long pause. And then he answered, very quietly, "It terminates." The hallway outside the trustee's office smelled faintly of polished wood and old paper, the kind of place where voices always seemed too loud and footsteps too sharp. I stood there with my parents and my sister, the weight of everything pressing into the narrow space between us. No one spoke at first. The only sound was the ticking wall clock above the receptionist's desk, each second cutting deeper into my chest. My mother finally broke the silence. "You don't have to make this harder than it is," she said softly, but there was steel underneath. "We already agreed as a family." I turned to her, stunned at how calm she looked, like we were discussing dinner reservations instead of the fact they had handed my future to someone else. "You agreed," I said. "I wasn't even asked." My sister shifted beside her, arms folded tight, eyes darting everywhere except at me. "It's not like that," she muttered. "You know I needed it more." Needed. The word hit like a slap. Needed my education fund, needed my inheritance, needed the thing our grandmother had built for me since the day I was born, the trust that had my name on it, not hers. The door to the trustee's office opened before I could answer. He stepped out, glasses low on his nose, expression unreadable. "Miss Carter," he said, looking directly at me, "would you come in, please?" My parents straightened, my mother already smiling like the matter was settled. "We'll all come," she said. He shook his head. "No, just her." Something in his tone cut through the air. My father's jaw tightened. "We are her parents." "And she," he replied evenly, "is the beneficiary." The word hung there. Beneficiary. Me. I stepped past them before I could lose my nerve, my hand trembling as I pushed the door open and entered the office. The room was dimmer than the hallway, shelves lined with thick legal volumes, the late afternoon sun filtering through blinds in narrow gold stripes across the desk. He gestured for me to sit. I did, heart hammering, palms damp. For a moment, he just watched me, as if measuring something invisible. "I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need an honest answer. Did you authorize any transfer or reassignment of your trust assets to your sister?" "No," I said instantly. "Never." He nodded once, like that confirmed something he already knew. Then he slid a folder across the desk. "Your parents came to me 3 months ago requesting an amendment. They claimed you had agreed to relinquish your trust in favor of your sister due to changed family circumstances." My throat closed. "That's not true." "I'm aware," he folded his hands, "because you never signed anything." The room seemed to tilt. "But they said, at Easter, they said it was done, that it was already hers." "They said that," he agreed, "but what they presented to you was not the legal reality. The trust cannot be reassigned without your explicit, witnessed consent, which they did not have." I stared at him, the words struggling to make sense. "So, it's still mine?" "It has always been yours." The air left my lungs in a rush, so sharp it hurt. For a second, I couldn't speak, couldn't move. All those weeks of believing it was gone, that my own parents had successfully taken the one thing meant for me, and it had never actually left my name. "Then why," my voice broke, "why didn't you tell me before?" His gaze softened, but only slightly. "Because I suspected there was pressure being applied. I needed to be certain of your position without their influence present. Today confirmed it." Outside the office door, I could hear muffled voices, my mother's low, urgent tone, my father's sharper one, waiting, assuming, believing they had already won. My hands curled in my lap. "What happens now?" "It depends on you," he said. "You have 3 options. 1, you keep the trust unchanged. 2, you voluntarily transfer some or all to your sister. 3, you initiate a formal notice stating any prior claim made on your behalf was unauthorized. That would legally prevent further attempts." The third option landed like thunder. Formal notice, a line drawn that couldn't be erased. I swallowed. "If I choose that, will they know?" "Yes," he held my eyes. "It would state clearly that you did not consent and do not consent." For the first time since Easter dinner, something inside me stopped shaking. The helplessness that had hollowed me out began to harden into something else, something steady, something mine. I stood slowly. "I need a moment." He inclined his head. "Of course." When I opened the office door, all three of them looked up at once. My mother's smile returned instantly, too bright. "Well," she asked, "everything settled?" I stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind me. The clock still ticked, the air still smelled the same, but nothing felt the same inside my chest. My sister searched my face, uncertainty creeping in. "It's okay, right?" I looked at her, really looked, at the fear under her defensiveness, the expectation she'd been handed something already hers, at my parents, waiting for confirmation of a story they had already told themselves. I let the silence stretch. Then I said quietly, "It was never transferred." Their expressions fractured in unison. "What?" my father snapped. "The trust," I said. "It's still mine. It always was." My mother's smile froze, then faltered. "That's not possible. We handled that." "No," I said. My voice didn't shake now. "You tried to." My sister's face drained of color. "So what does that mean?" I held her gaze. The hallway felt suddenly too small for everything about to break open inside it. "It means," I said, "nothing has changed yet." And behind me, the trustee's door clicked open.